Can I tell you a secret? Look, I know you're just as nosy as I am, so go ahead and lean in. My secret is that I've been seeing a Christian therapist for years. Okay, if you've been following me for a long time, you probably already know that little fact. But hey, it's an important thing that I need to share again because it is a key part of today's video. You see, a big part of stepping into your calling as an entrepreneur or as a leader of a new ministry or nonprofit, it requires that you get your mental and emotional ish together. And if you're a person who's been trudging through life while carrying years of trauma with you, then you can pretend that you got it all together, but look, you and I, we know you don't. When you are carrying unprocessed trauma, you're going to lash out at people in a completely unexpected way. You're going to avoid talking to a lot of people simply because of distrust or you want to avoid rejection. You're going to talk yourself out of some really smart business moves out of fear, or you're going to talk yourself into some ill-fitting modes of behavior and thinking because that's what you see other people doing. And all of that is going to amount to hours and days and months and years of wasted time and energy because your business is going to skyrocket and then crash and burn because of mistakes you've made, or it may never even take off in the first place. Which is why today I want to peel back the curtain on my own time in therapy to share with you 5 lessons that I've learned that have helped me improve my life and grow my business. Hey dreamers, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tiana Clewis. I'm an author, a speaker, an executive pastor, coach, and co-owner of a multi-million-dollar consulting company. I've made it my mission to help Christian women who are trapped in the 9-to-5 life overcome the money worries that are stopping them from stepping full-time into their God-given calling. And part of that means that I have to ask you a quick question. Is your past stopping you from stepping boldly into your kingdom business? The sad truth is that we all have hurt and pain and trauma from our past, but why is it that some people seem to thrive in business and life in spite of those scars while others don't? Well, I want you to meet Dr. Tanya Cunningham, a minister, author, and grief coach who's tackled this issue for years. As a counselor who had to overcome the setbacks from her own trauma, she now uses her testimony, her research, and professional expertise to guide men and women of God through the process of grief and trauma to find victory on the other side. And she's ready to share those secrets with you at Ambitious Dreamers, The Pouring Conference. So if you are ready to transform your past from a major roadblock that keeps you stuck to a testimony that motivates you and the people you serve, then I want you to join Tanya, myself, and our all-star roster of speakers at The Pouring. Register today at www.thepouring.life. We have limited seating for this life-changing one-day event on Saturday, October 1st. So pause the video, go to www.thepouring.life to register now. Don't worry, I'll wait. Let me start this off by saying that it was really hard for me to put this video together because like so many of you, I have been through a lot in my life. Now, I know that there are many people who've gone through far worse things than I ever have, but it doesn't discount the fact that I do have legitimate trauma and it's taking a lot of prayer, therapy, and grace to really begin to process those traumas and not allow them to destroy my life. From my interpersonal relationships to my ability to run a business, those traumas really could have stopped every bit of progress that I've made. In fact, they likely have handicapped some of my progress already, meaning I'm not as far in life at this point as I probably could have been had I taken the time to work through those traumas sooner. But hey, at least I'm doing the work now, so I won't dwell on what could have been. It honestly was giving me anxiety to try to treat this video like the other, so it may be a little longer because I don't have a script after this point. I got talking points and that's about it. So forgive me if it seems at points like I'm rambling a little because I'm doing most of this off the dome and straight from the heart. So with that, let's talk about the first lesson. Lesson number 1 is that most people are doing the best they can with what they know to do. Now, okay, I am not doing these in order of most important to least important, but this is one that is probably one of the first lessons that hit me, and it actually hit me when I was losing my grandmother. So I love my grandmother and I love my parents, but they did some nutty stuff that created some serious trauma. There's just some crazy stuff that happened when I was a kid, especially in my teenage and college years. And to be honest, at one point, I thought that I probably was going to just completely separate from my entire family, never come back to Texas, and just wipe my hands of everything and everybody. But as my grandmother got to a point where she was literally on her deathbed, breathing her last painful breaths, I had this moment where, and at this point, I'd done a little bit of therapy here and there. I hadn't gotten as intense to it as I am into it now, or consistent, I should say, as I am now. But I'm sitting there and like the Lord literally just dropped in my spirit that she did the best that she could. And I realized that, yeah, she made some mistakes and those mistakes hurt me seriously, but she was doing the best that she could with what she knew how to do. She was trying to protect me how she best knew how during some of the crazy circumstances that were happening in my childhood. And so even though I was feeling angry and manipulated and mistreated, the thing is that even though I realized that with my grandmother, I didn't quite apply that to my parents or even to other people in my life who had hurt me until years later when I was sitting there in therapy and was talking through that moment. And it like hit me because we're working through my childhood trauma and I'm like, so how difficult is it going to be able to build a business where you have to interact with people a lot when you keep not trusting people to follow through on what they say they're going to do? You find yourself feeling like you have to control every single situation, or that like the moment that they do something wrong that you just end up writing them off. It was really just kind of foolish in my opinion. It was foolish, but it was based out of the fact that I felt like these people who should have been good people in my life had made these mistakes, but it wasn't malicious. And that was the thing that I had to understand. I got it in the moment with my grandmother, but it took me years after being in therapy, working through my childhood trauma, that I really began to apply it to everybody around me. And even though it's not the easiest thing in the world, it's still something that has helped me tremendously because I've been able to not only improve those other personal relationships, but it's also allowed me to really collaborate with others. It's allowed me to outsource certain things. When I'm someone who used to do everything myself because I couldn't trust anyone to do it, I began to outsource. I began to hire people to help me, like the amazing editor that I have now that has been editing my videos for months and like they're dope, right? I realized that when it finally clicked that most people are really doing the best that they can with what it is that they know to do, it allowed me to give them more grace. It allowed me to trust a little more easily. It doesn't mean that I just automatically open the door wide with all of the trust, but it means that I don't immediately write you off with the first mistake. It means that, I will give you the opportunity to show me who you are. And instead of letting that one bad thing really just color my entire opinion of you, I look at the culmination of things. I look at the consistency of action because it's okay to be consistent with a blip, be consistently positive with a negative blip, than to be consistently negative with positive blips. Lesson number 2 is I don't have to be like them. So who's them? Well, when I first started toying with the idea of creating any business, in fact, my first business was a Mary Kay business. Most of the people that I knew at that time weren't really good people. But I followed, because my Mary Kay consultant at the time, she was dope, like Amber Noor, one of the coolest people you'll ever meet. And so we had a conversation and I ended up I trusted her, but she and like the rest of the team weren't the norm of what I had seen of entrepreneurs. Most of them were really crappy, greedy people who would lie, cheat, and steal. I hated that part. And there was already the issue of I like makeup and it's fun, and I like skincare and it can be fun, but I'm not passionate about it. So that was already one big mistake with me starting a Mary Kay business. What I ended up seeing, first of all, in therapy is that I am not required to be like them. That's the thing. If you see someone in your industry, if you see someone with a business like yours and they're doing negative, terrible things, you are not obligated to do negative, terrible things like them. You can find a different, better, more ethical way. In fact, I do plan on doing an episode that actually talks about like different business rules that you can find in the Bible on how God wants us to run our businesses in a godly and ethical way. So I do plan on doing a YouTube video about that pretty soon. I just, your girl's got to make sure her research is on point, because I'm trying to rightly divide the word. Okay, I'm not getting in trouble for misinterpreting stuff. Anywho, but the thing is, like, God created entrepreneurship, not us. So entrepreneurship has the power to be this amazing thing, but so many people have twisted and warped it into something negative that's based off of their greed and their need and desire for power. But I am not obligated to do it the negative way. I am allowed to do it in a godly, biblical way, in a way that makes me a positive person, in a way that helps society instead of hurts it. If you see entrepreneurship, business owners in this negative, terrible light, remember, you can be different. You can be godly with it. You don't have to be horrible. All right, so I see you're still hanging out here, so do me a favor. Go ahead and smash that like button to let the YouTube algorithm know that you like what you're seeing. And if you haven't already, follow my channel by clicking the big red subscribe button below. All right, let's keep going. Lesson number 3 is that God made me to be me and no one else. Okay, so here's one thing that was very, very interesting. So one of the things that I realized is that when you are living your life and you are in religious organizations, or you might go to a college, or like just being your family unit, you are essentially molded to kind of be a sort of way. So for example, at Howard University, in our honors program, we were molded to be like suited, like very conservative, very suited people. So like we only wore black and blue navy suits. Women, we had to wear skirts. We had to wear the pantyhose. You have to wear the white button down. Like, I'm gonna be honest, we dressed like old ladies, okay? We dressed like old people. We were not dressed for our age, right? And so it was really funny that when I started working one of my internships at a Big Four accounting firm, my boss, we were hosting an event in Philadelphia, and my boss literally said, go to Macy's across the street and go buy you some age-appropriate business clothes. Because she's like, you look like an old lady. You are 20 years old. What are you doing? Well, when you are in a Christian church, for example, the way that you are supposed to behave and the way you're supposed to dress and the way you're supposed to look and the way you're supposed to do things, sometimes a church will try to force you into a very tiny, defined mold. The thing is that God doesn't intend for any of us to fit in a very tiny, defined mold. At least not a very tiny, defined mold that's defined by other people. God is the one who molded you, who created you. You'll see in the Bible where it talks about he sculpted us God is the one who defines who we are. God is the one who gives us our sense of self and purpose. And he has a very clear vision of exactly who he wants you to be. In the book of Jeremiah, first chapter, I really like the book of Jeremiah. It specifically says in the first chapter, I knew you before I formed you in the womb. Like, he knew exactly who he wanted you to be. And who he wanted you to be was not this church's version of you. It wasn't your college's version of you. It's not even your family's version of you. It is a you that is deep down inside that he wants to come out, that he wants to leverage, right? And so I found myself for a long time just sitting locked in this mold of who I am. And when I went through the trauma of losing my brother from suicide, I realized that a big reason why he took his own life was because he felt like he needed to fit in a very narrow mold. And I was like, I will not continue to live myself in this mold created by other people that shape who I thought I should be. I like tattoos. I like colorful hair. I literally have these like Halloween nails that I'm going to put on after I'm done recording this video because I really like Halloween. Halloween is so fun to me. That is my true and authentic self, right? I am a goofball. I can be very, very serious and very, very stern, but I am a goofball most of the time. I'm cracking jokes. I can also be very sarcastic. I can be super sassy. And I realize that I have to learn to be who God created me to be. And when I started doing that, my business started growing because people who were called to my voice, called to my personality, who could connect with who I am in my authentic self, began coming to me, and we would click, right? And next thing you know, my clientele is growing and people are connecting with me on social media. They're connecting with me through my YouTube videos because they're seeing the true and authentic version of myself. The reality is that if God wanted another Amy Porterfield, if he wanted another Rachel Cruz, if he wanted another Sarah Jakes Roberts, he would have made another one of them. But he made you. He made me. God made me to be me and no one else. So if you find yourself constantly trying to stick into this tiny mold that other people, this tiny box that other people have tried to stuff you into, and something within you feels like this doesn't quite fit, it's probably because it doesn't. There is someone or something inside of you that God put in there that he wants to come out. And as it comes out, other people will connect with you. You will grow. Your business will grow, or nonprofit, or ministry, or whatever. Be your authentic self with love, with God's grace. Put a whole lot of Jesus on that authentic self, but be your authentic self. And when you're your authentic self, your relationships grow, your ministry grows, your business grows. Lesson number 4 is that the negative words said about me in my teenage years are actually a reflection of the speaker, not of me. If you would listen to my first sermon actually starts to talk about, it doesn't give a ton of detail, but it gives a little bit of background on some of the things I dealt with in my teenage years. My mother married this guy who was just like a hot, raggedy, evil mess. Like, this man was evil. And he hid it very well. He probably would be considered a narcissist. And he would say all of this stuff that it literally rung in my head for years about there being something wrong with me, about me being this like bad person and stuff like that. Like, honestly, it almost broke me. But the thing is, because those words were ringing in my head over and over and over again, I found myself in this place where I expected myself to mess things up. I expected that I wasn't going to accomplish anything. It wasn't until I was in therapy that I realized that he wasn't actually talking about me. The crap that he was saying about me was how he felt about himself. Because at that point in time, he hadn't accomplished anything. Absolutely nothing. His life was terrible. Like, my mother ended up taking care of him because he could not get his ish together. He'd accomplished nothing. Like, he wasn't adding any value. The most valuable thing that he did was he got my mother back in the church. Like, that's it. He didn't improve her life. He didn't improve my life. And everything he did was just a hot, raggedy, funky mess. The truth is, he was telling me that something was wrong with me because there was a lot wrong with him. He was telling me that I wasn't going to be able to like do anything good in life, or that I wasn't a good person because he wasn't a good person and he hadn't done anything good in life. Here's the thing. When people have been saying negative things about you over and over and over again, and especially when it's like a toxic person and what they're saying doesn't match up with like what you were believing about yourself, or it doesn't match up with what you feel God is saying about you, it doesn't match up with what even the non-toxic people in your circle are saying about you, that person was never actually talking about you. They were directing their nonsense at you, but it really, there's a concept called projection, and you can give yourself permission not only to reject their words, but to recognize that you do not have to follow in their footsteps. So they said that you're not going to be successful because they weren't successful. Well, the moment that you decide to take that in and own their words, and then take steps that result in you not being successful, that's essentially you following in their footsteps and allowing them to win. You don't have to do that. You are not required to follow in their footsteps, and you are not required to allow them to win. We cannot continue to take the words that other people said about us to heart, because most of the time it's not about us in the first place. If their words are inconsistent with everything else, it's not about you, it's about them. And we have to shed that and let their nonsense go and recognize that whatever they said about us does not have to become our truth. That one was that was a huge one for me. That the negative words said about me in my teen years, they weren't a reflection of me. They were actually a reflection of that guy. Lesson number 5, my final lesson, and I made it my final lesson because honestly, it is the one that I'm still struggling with right now. So this is a lesson that I understand intellectually, but I am still totally struggling to make it apply in real life. So lesson number 5 is that I don't have anything to prove to anyone. So I am one of those people who has always been a bit of an overachiever. And as part of being an overachiever, I will work myself into the ground. I will work 10, 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and think nothing of it because I have something to prove. I need to prove to you that I'm worthy of your time. I need to prove to you that I'm as smart as you think I am. I need to prove to you that you taking the time to listen to me is valuable. I have to prove X, Y, Z. I am constantly having to feeling like I have to prove that maybe the negative things that were said about me aren't true. And instead of just accepting the fact that they aren't true, no, I gotta prove that they aren't true. But the truth is, and the thing that I have mentally unlearned, but now I have to learn how to change how I function in response to that understanding, is that I don't have anything to prove to anybody. God is the one who said, I am fearfully, wonderfully made. God is the one who said that he has called me, that he knew me in the womb. God is the one who said he has plans for me to prosper me and plans for good. God is the one who created my destiny, who made the decision about who he wants me to be. When you look in the book of Revelations, it talks about the fact that there are books and books and books, and there are books for each and every one of us in our lives. God has already written the book on my life, on who he has called me to be. And for whatever reason, he decided that I was worthy, that he would justify me. The Bible says that God justified us because he called us, that he would justify me and turn me into a minister and turn me into a financially well-off person, that he would turn me into a public speaker, that he would allow me to be an author, that he would allow me to be a mentor to other Christian women entrepreneurs. He decided this. I don't know why, but that is the choice that God made. And so because God made the choice and he justified me, I don't have to prove anything to anyone. And as a result, I'm going to break the things around me. And so because I recognize that, I am learning to rest. I am learning to have grace for myself. I'm learning to forgive myself for mistakes that I've made. And I'm learning to stop replaying my mistakes over and over again in my mind. Because at the end of the day, I don't have anything to prove to anyone, including myself. Because God already chose me. He picked me and he loved me anyway. So I don't have anything to prove. I just got to walk out the walk that God has for me. That's it. Whew, I made it through without any tears. Now, I'll admit, ever since I started working through my traumas and really processing my emotions behind them, I've become a bit of a crybaby, and it does drive me a little crazy. But hey, it's just a new part of the authentic Tiana Clewis, and I'm learning to accept it. But anyway, those are 5 lessons that I've learned in therapy that have helped me grow, not just as a person, but as a minister and as a business owner. Now it's your turn. Did any of these lessons resonate with you? Are you starting to think that you might need a little therapy yourself? Or are there some lessons that you've learned that are helping you with your own business? Let me know in the comments. You know how much I absolutely love hearing from you. And so at this point, it's time to head out. So be sure to head over to www.thepouring.life if you haven't already to grab your seat for Ambitious Dreamers, the Pouring Conference on Saturday, October 1st, right here in the DFW area. Otherwise, let me know that you found this video useful by hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing to my channel by clicking the big red button below. Be sure to hit the bell so that you're notified each week when I drop brand new money tips and biblical strategies to help you break through your financial barriers so that you can finally step big, bad, and boldly into your God-given calling on a full-time basis like I have. So with that, I'm going to get back to work and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.